First of all, Nancy Dupre from our Long Beach. Thank you for following direction. We have Karen Myatt from Marietta. Thank you. And we have Melinda Elmer from our Long Beach office. You guys sit in here.
Careful. That's
Look tall, too.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, ladies, thank you very, very much for coming. And so what I wanted to do is let's just jump right into this and just kind of get warmed up a little bit. I'll just throw some softball questions right now, and then we'll kind of get a little bit more difficult as we go. All right? So if you can, just we'll go down. Tell us how long in the business, the kind of the major source of your business, and the size of your database, and your goals for 2019. If you want to start.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Dupre from the Long Beach office. And what's the first question? Oh, I'm 8 years in the business.
How long in the business? How much business? What's your goal for 2019?
My goal is to complete 50 transactions.
Okay, good. And your largest source of business for you?
My largest source is past clients and spheres.
Okay, good.
And the second largest would be door knocking.
Okay, perfect.
And my database size is 450 people.
450. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I've been in the business 30 years. Yeah, I know I look so young, right? I'm 55. 60 is the goal for the year. My database would be probably the largest. I do a lot of door knocking, and then I do some for sale by owners, and I do open houses. So we work with buyers as well.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Melinda Elmer, and my 16 years in the business this year, and my goal is 100 transactions this year. I might have to adjust it a little bit. Time off. We'll see. Still shooting for 100 though. And biggest source of business is past mindset.
Okay, perfect. Good. I wanted to get an idea from you guys. What did you do before real estate? I mean, did you have any sales background? I mean, where did you come from?
I was a theatrical stage manager,
Oh, wow.
which is zero sales.
So, you had to sell the people on their markets, right?
Well, the big thing that was is I had to constantly be looking for work. Sound familiar? So I would get a job for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, and I have to find another gig right after that. So I was constantly looking for work, networking, talking to people, reaching out who I knew, seeing if they had a job come up, and things like that. So.
Interesting. Okay, good. Karen, how about you?
You know, I'm an art major, so I just jumped into kind of a sales position really quickly for a print company. And basically I was just floating around on different types of jobs for a couple years, and then I went into real estate with a new home builder, because out in Marietta, Temecula, where I'm from, there wasn't anything else but new home builders back then. And so it wasn't really a sales type, aggressive sales marketing, because you're just waiting for people, passively waiting for people. But I did do about 10 years in Amway, which makes real estate really easy. Okay? Because if you don't want to buy soap, I mean, selling a house is a lot more fun.
Okay, perfect. Good. Thanks. Go ahead.
I was in a sales position before. I was in wine sales for 7 years. And
You were doing something a little bit before that.
yeah, I was also a dietitian before then, before I was in sales.
Yeah. So, good. Good. So, to do this kind of business, okay, and with past client sphere is the majority of it. I mean, let's go back to the beginning when you started building your databases. I mean, what'd you have to do? So, Karen, please.
I didn't have my database when I started in 04 in resale, so I went into door knocking to find them.
So, but tell us, so before 04, you were in,
Builders.
you did builder business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you did builder business for how long?
15 years.
Got it. And that was, you had the,
This was before computers, though.
right. So in builder business, did you go out and get the business or the business came into you?
It just came in.
Okay, so why did you choose to move from that to business that you have to go after?
We were having a little family crisis at that moment, and so I needed to support my family, and I needed to make more money. And the builders were super controlling and always about the last sale, which we are about to. However, it was a little bit more like, what did you do for me like 15 minutes ago? So I was getting kind of tired of that. They were videotaping, which is kind of funny. But I just needed to get out. I needed to make more money. I figured, well, golly, these resale agents, they're making $8,000 or whatever. I just need 2 a month. How hard could it be? Right? Let's just go do it.
Got it. Well, good. Okay. So, Melinda, what was,
When I first started, I moved here from Wisconsin,
Sorry.
and I didn't know anybody in Long Beach. I knew a few people up in the valley and things like that, but they're all poor theater people, so I really didn't know anybody. So mostly I prospected other agents in my office for buyer leads. I did nothing but just listed, just sold calls all day long. And I did, I went out to networking events and got to meet a bunch of people and just put myself out there to get to know people because I truly knew no one. I also did call my friends all over the country who I did know, and I referred out a ton of business that way too. So that's how I started paying for my coaching, was by finding people out in other areas of the country.
so you started as primarily a buyer's agent?
Mhm.
Got it. And that's where most of your business
Yeah,
comes
85% of my business when I first started was buyers.
from. Okay. And that business has transferred over the years to now mostly.
I'm not allowed to show buyers anymore. Robert said. The only exception to that is that obviously if my buyer's agent is sick, but otherwise I'm not allowed to show buyers.
Okay, let's talk about that for just a second. How big is your team? 30 or 40 people on your team?
My assistant went full-time this last year because I realized that was a barrier. I was stuck at like 55, 60 transactions and she would get overwhelmed, so I would stop working and help her. So I said, you know what, this is silly. Let me just make her go full-time and then
Full-time as an
assistant.
assistant?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
She's my listing coordinator, basically, and anything else I need done. So
So who's on your team?
my assistant / listing coordinator, I have a buyer's agent, and the transaction coordinator, that's it.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And
It's just me and Todd,
just
and I have Matt.
and Maggie in our TC department. Got it, got it. And your business, your transition started when? You started selling real estate.
Real estate. Okay, so I started real estate 8 years ago. And at that time, I was building my database because I was told that's the best source of business. So I wrote down all the people I knew and I called them. I told them I was getting my real estate license, and that worked. I got a deal actually 1 month after I got my real estate license.
A buyer transaction.
A buyer transaction, yeah. That was 8 years ago when there were a lot of foreclosures. And somebody introduced me to somebody who was an investor, and I wrote 100 offers for this investors. And we got 3 properties for them. Yeah, it was great practice for writing offers.
Exactly.
Compton,
And-
in Compton.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how big's your team?
My team is, I also have Maggie as a transaction coordinator. And also I have a full-time person who is a licensed agent, who is a showing agent and assistant.
Okay, perfect. Excellent, excellent. So transitioning back, clearly what I'm hearing is the database is the key today. So transitioning back to the beginning, did you realize that? Did somebody tell you that? Or was it intuitive? And what did you have to do to start filling that database, so to speak? So, go ahead.
Yeah, I felt it was key because I wanted to work with my friends. I wanted to get my friends great properties. I wanted to give them great service. So I was doing my friends a favor by working with them. I made sure that they had great service by reaching out to them, and I've continued that. If, for example, I'm in a running group and I've helped about 10 to 15 people in there buy and sell property. And I continue to see these people regularly. I go to their housewarming parties, Christmas parties, and I stay Facebook friends with them. I stay in touch with all of these people. And that's how I'm working the database.
Okay.
And so I've always done that. And how do I fill in the time? I fill in the time by prospecting, because we don't want to be sitting there waiting for our friends to call us. We want to be prospecting, and then your friend calls you, and then you're already warmed up. You know the market. When they call you, you're on. You're not at brunch. You're not out, or not working and waiting for them to give you business. You're already, and they can hear that in the energy in your voice when they call. So.
Good. Excellent. Good. Sharon, go ahead.
I'd agree with you. You keep calling your database and you go, when are they gonna, you kind of feel like you're bothering them sometimes, but you're really not, because you're reminding them that you're still in business. They love that you called them. They think, wow, she thought enough to call me, right? And so then when they need you, I just got a call this morning on the way here. He's on title to a property. His sister got in a car accident last week, okay? She's dead. But we had this conversation 4 years ago. I said, Tony, you need to make sure you're on title on that property, right? We're just giving them service. And so now it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do the numbers and we're gonna get the house listed. But that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't made that phone call 2 years back, even though, I know they're happy they're gonna be in the house for a really long time, but it doesn't mean that they don't need help in other things in their life, and their family needs help too.
So you don't think you're bothering them when you call them?
No.
And you don't think you're begging for business?
I don't beg for business.
Okay, well,
Yes.
so what is that?
Well, it just means I'm a professional real estate agent. I'm here doing my job, and I'm here to let you know that what's happening in the market. Market's up, market's down, rates are great.
Right.
Let's buy something.
Excellent. Good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, when I first started, I didn't have a database, and then I knew how important it was because of my previous job, and that's how I got other work. But even then, when the market turned in 2007, I didn't call my past clients at all, because I felt really bad that I put them into these houses and now they were worth half of what they were worth a year ago. And I lost so much business from 2007 to 2010 because they sold with other people or lost their houses to foreclosure, and I could have helped them. So after that little break of not calling them, I finally got back into the habit of calling them, and now I've been super consistent about calling them. And I always try to call them with some value, and they call me with questions. And I had one person who I had not talked to I'd call them, left messages or whatever, and send out my videos and all that other stuff for 10 years. They finally called me 2 months ago and said, hey, I have good news, so I'm going to make your day today. I need to sell my property. But, if I had said, oh, I haven't talked to this guy in 10 years, forget it, I'm just going to take him out of my database, I would have lost that business.
Right.
So it's so important to just keep on it. And I hear all the time the same thing. Oh, thank you so much for keeping in touch. We really appreciate it. You're always reaching out to us. And sometimes I don't hear from you. That's okay too.
So we hear all the time that expireds are the name of the game and they're now business. How do you guys react to that? Because most of your business is coming from past client and sphere. So what's that? Karen, how does that?
I'm not going after expireds as much as I was a couple of years back. But we're there to offer value for them. They're gonna be calling you because you're calling your database, and they're referring their friends that didn't sell their house with the last agent. Right. So as we're sharp and we're ready for that business.
So a lot of what you're saying is you're sharp and you're ready. You're constant. You're ready. So do you preview property?
Yes.
Good. Do you preview property?
Not as much as I probably should,
Okay.
but like I've seen every condo that there is in Long Beach. So somebody tells me this condo building, that condo building, I've seen it. Houses, especially in Long Beach, there's certain areas that all kind of look the same, so at least I know. But whenever I am going on a listing appointment, I always spend an hour before I go to that listing appointment, see what I can see. If nothing else, I'm at least driving by, because there's so much stuff you miss that's in the computer that you can't see the power lines, you can't see the busy street that it's backing to a bunch of commercial properties. You can't see that stuff unless you go and see it, or apartment buildings on either side of the house. So anytime I go on listings, I always go and see the properties that are our competition and drive by this closed sales.
Great. Good. Nancy, how about you?
As much as I can.
As much as you can?
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay. Got it. So clearly you guys could work anywhere. Okay? Clearly. All right? Why masters?
Well, I had always said I would love to work for Neil if he had an office in Long Beach. Because I didn't want to drive to Irvine when you open an office in Irvine. But I always saw Neil at the Mike Fair events, and I thought how great it would be, because I started out in a Brian Buffini office, and then I went to a Keller Williams office, and I was consistently the only one who was prospecting, the only one who was there. And the energy coming into this office is so much better, so much different. And my first year, we did 2 extra deals, my first year moving, but I made $100,000 more. And everybody told me, oh, you're going to leave Keller Williams, 100% split, you're going to lose so much money. I just laughed and I said, nope, I made so much more money because we made me more efficient working. So I didn't have to do that much more work, but I made a ton more money. So I wouldn't go anywhere else.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Nancy, how about you?
I'm here for Neil.
I serve at your pleasure.
That's the truth, because, that's what makes the difference, and the whole structure and what you've done.
Thank you. In our calls, I hear this as a common theme. You will say that at the end of the week or the end of the month, we've put money in your pocket. What
I say that all the time.
what is that?
So I go on a coaching call with Neil, and I'm in whatever mood I'm in, because our business is difficult, right? So let's say you have a listing that doesn't sell. You've done everything.
You're the only one like that.
I always go, really? I'm not the only one? And then Neil makes a suggestion to me, which I have a certain degree of resistance by now. But I say it softly, but I'm listening. And Neil says, well, why don't you do this? Have you tried this? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've tried that. But then I remember it, and I go back to my workstation, and I go, well, I'm going to try this, I guess. And then the following week, I let Neil know, yeah, that property's in escrow now. So thank you for putting money in my pocket. Because they're real things that work. I'm not going on a call with just ethereal ideas that may work. They're real ideas that work and put money in our pockets.
Thank you. Well, that's what we do with our management team. We work on that. Karen, and
I had a couple of different real estate experiences before C21, and that's why when Neil was willing to open an office for me down there, it was, we jumped on it. And the positive energy you can't put a price on it. And then the morning calls for me I love that. I love the calls.
some people turn me off. Did you know that? They turn the call off, they cancel it, and then they call the front desk and they tell them, never send that call to me again.
They're missing out. So just how organized your company is, I love that, and not all companies are like this. So I can tell you, don't waste any time with anybody else, because this is a dream type of situation.
Okay, well, thank you for the shameless commercial.
However, we have to stay out of complacency, and so C21 brought in a global aspect for me that I was able to use when I'm out there in my market. And I let them know that, because I was with a smaller boutique boutique real estate office that, kind of owned Temecula back in the day, but those days are over. And now my sellers want a global market. They want us to be advertising, around the world, and that's what we do.
Got it.
So,
Good, perfect, thank you. So, the market is a little more difficult this year. It's a little bit more challenging. What changes, if any, have you guys brought into play with the different marketing and different changes in social media, et cetera? So, Melinda, you've added a little bit of social media and the videos and things to it.
Mhm.
So share a little bit about that.
Well, I realized that in this shifting market, it's so much more about being even more in front of past clients, even more in front of people. I do twice monthly videos. I have to do our weekly emails that our office sends out, which if you're not doing that, it's free. You don't even have to do anything. They take care of all that, so do it. And we started doing some more Facebook posts and things like that. My assistant does anyway. So we've been doing that, but the biggest change has actually been, I realized that I was making a lot less contacts than I had last year. So I've been really ramping up my contacts. I've been doing 50 contacts a day
Now,
now.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and because you keep track of your numbers on a regular basis, you were able to look back at first quarter 18 versus first quarter 19, compare those numbers and see that you weren't
it's like
talking.
half of the
Half.
contacts that I was doing before. So
Interesting.
since I'm going to be taking some time off soon, I thought, oh, well, I better ramp it up and do a bunch more prospecting so that I can get out there.
Okay, good. Are you doing some social media, things
Yes.
like that? You've added some
Yeah.
elements, right?
So in, just, Neil has shared with us Anthony Andre, who gave a lot of social media tips, and I put some of those into effect. Basically, that's where our customers are. Just like you scroll through Facebook and Instagram when you're having lunch or breakfast or whatever, that's where they are. So we might as well be where they are. It doesn't mean don't be on the phones. It means add that piece on top. And what, I actually got a listing this year from somebody. I posted something about a cat cafe. Have you heard about cat cafes?
mhm.
And somebody I know posted something and said, oh, that's so cute, whatever. And I instantly messaged her privately and I said, thank you for commenting. How are you doing? Are you doing anything? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she's going to move to Texas. And now I have her listing. So it can lead to it's a beginning of a conversation. Obviously it goes to phone later, but sometimes this is an easy way to start the conversation.
Good, perfect, excellent. Karen, are you guys doing anything with that?
We just do the market snapshot where our clients, get some information on their local
Right.
area and value.
You guys did a major push on that where you do the market snapshot, I think, on every client.
Every client gets one.
Yeah.
So when they view it, then I get notified that they view it, and then I give them a phone call.
Right. It's good, just another touch.
Yeah, another touch.
Excellent, excellent. So from a time perspective, I wanted to, do you guys mind taking some questions from the group? So any questions from you guys that might? be-
What's the frequency that you guys reach out to your sphere of influence?
The frequency that they,
That they're touching?
that they touch their sphere of influence, Melinda?
For my A group, the people who've given me referrals, influencers, things like that, people who know a lot of people, those I call monthly. And my B group, which is the majority of the group, is quarterly. Plus, they're getting the videos, they're getting emails, things like that. But I call them and mail them postcards 4 times a year. Then there's a C group, which is like people who moved out of state, or somebody who was a pain to work with, that I don't really want to work with them again. They'll call them once or twice a year.
So you touched on that. I want to add to this, where you do business out of the state, okay? You pick up about how much money-ish a year on that?
Probably right now, 30, 40,000 a year.
$40,000 a year on people. So if a client leaves the state, you don't forget about them necessarily. You stay after them. Okay.
Yeah, it's some guy, just recently, I've been still reaching out to him twice a year because I hadn't heard anything from him, and they moved to New York, like way up in the mountains in New York.
Uh-huh.
And I sold his house back in 2010. It was a short sale. It was a really painful transaction for him. I didn't hear from him for years. He reached out to me 6 months ago and said, "Hey, thanks so much for always reaching out to us. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry I was such a jerk during the transaction, and I apologize for that. It was a really rough emotional sale for us anyway, but things worked out for the best. And yeah, we'll probably come back to California in a year or two, so we'd love to work with you again."
That's great.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Do you work the clients that leave the state?
don't
Or
really.
you don't use that?
Yeah.
You do some of that.
I do some of it. This morning I called somebody that moved to Las Vegas just to ask her, hey, do you know of anybody else that wants to do what you did, which is sell your California place and move
Move
to
to
Vegas?
Vegas.
So
Interesting.
that's usually.
So there's extra money to be gotten in those phone calls. Okay, that's great. So going back to Tim's question on frequency, how often do you touch your?
Probably not as good as she does, yeah. So at least twice a year
Twice a year?
or sooner.
Got it, perfect.
I call once a quarter.
Okay, do you mail them? You don't mail, so it just, you do, but so just a phone call is essentially.
Mostly the phone call. I have an email database that I email twice a month. It's 1,800 people. So it's more than the small database. It's like everybody that signed in on my open house books, for example.
Okay, good, okay, great.
Email.
Email, okay, perfect, okay, good. Tim, thank you. Other questions from the group? Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes, Tess, please.
How tight are you on your schedule in the morning when you're prospecting?
Go ahead.
I think very tight for 4 out of the 5 days.
Okay.
Friday tends to get looser because mostly I'm working on weekends, so I give myself a break. But Monday to Thursday is pretty, the morning is for prospecting. Because I have a role play group from 7:30 to 8, and then it goes right into prospecting.
I am not tight at all. And this is my coach.
I'm making some notes.
However, what I don't get done in the morning, I get done.
Yeah.
So I'll get it done. It might be 7:30 at night. I'm knocking on your door, but I will get it done. So let's put it that way.
This year has been an interesting challenge for me, just energy-wise. I've been very, very tired growing a human.
Yeah.
So, it's reality. I used to be super, super strict on my
Yeah,
schedule,
I
but
know.
this year I have to make accommodations. So my goal is always to get my 50 contacts in before 1 o'clock,
Mhm.
because that way, if I need to go home and take a nap, I can. Or if I have appointments in the afternoon, then I can go do with that. But my goal is always to be home by 5,
Mhm.
because I'm exhausted by 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm trying to work less on the weekends too. So I keep telling myself I work half days on Fridays, and I try to work, if I do anything, it's no more than 2.5 hours on a Saturday, because I have to manage my energy. So I have to be super efficient during the times when I am working.
Wait till that baby comes.
More efficient. Good. Go ahead.
I do work on Saturdays also, and I do open houses, so a couple hours of mini open houses. I do 2 usually each Saturday. So keep that in mind. I'm loving it because you get to be out there with the people, and I also get feedback on my listings on why maybe it hasn't sold, because I don't want to be doing that open house each week for that house. So I'm going to find out what the buyers are thinking, and then we're making adjustments on price.
You're really good about that. You're really good at that. Good, good, okay, good. Go ahead, Con.
Does anybody work Sundays? You guys work Sundays? What do you do on Sundays?
I usually do open house, and not yesterday, but the previous Sunday was super busy. I did a showing at 11 o'clock, and then an open house from 2 to 4, and then another showing at 5 o'clock. So
Busy girl.
it can be busy on Sunday because there's not a lot of other agents working, so.
I'll do a showing on
Clients are
Sunday.
usually available weekends.
I'll do a listing appointment
Okay.
if somebody is motivated. I always try to get them to do it on a Saturday or another day, but if Sunday's the only option, I want this Sunday, so. But I'll take Saturday off. But I'll also be lying if I said I didn't check my email or respond to text messages or stuff like that.
Write an offer.
Write an offer.
Or take a listing.
Right. If they want to pay me money, I'll do it.
Good job. Meg?
Karen, tell us about your new home business,
Yes,
new house business.
yes.
So,
So
repeat the question. So-
new home sales business is, you're seeing a lot of that. And when you see my name first, it's my listing or sale. When you see Todd's name, it's new home, okay? And that's really an entry only kind of situation. So we're not doing a lot of management for that. We're not, we are helping, we're kind of like a liaison and helping the new home agent that's in the office to let them know how they can get their stuff on the MLS as far as open houses and so forth. So we want everyone to go to the new home community directly. You register your client there to protect your commission. That's important.
And they're real strict on that.
They're very strict. They will not pay you.
Yeah, they
You do
won't.
not show up with your client at the first showing.
Right.
However, keep in mind that you're starting to see how the builder's dropping prices.
Right.
So we have over 100 listings on MLS, right, for Lennar. Now, it's interesting now they're starting to adjust pricing. So it used to be they were very proud to say they were 50,000 over a resale house. They weren't shy about it. They didn't care. They were just getting them sold. But now they're not. So now they're very competitive with what we have on inventory. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your sellers, because it is an undercurrent. If we have over 100 MLS listings for them, and we're just Lennar, and that's just the Inland Division. That's not OC. That's not anything else other than the Inland Division, right? Not Inland Empire. So think about D.R. Horton, there's Pardee, there's K-Hop, there's, all these other builders that are still have another 100 plus homes inventory. So just keep that in mind. I think it's good for us as a company that we're out there, we're exposed, and we have, we do get some buyer's calls off of it and so forth, and those kind of things.
Well, I think it's
very generous with commissions
I was
too now.
just gonna say that.
Yes.
Before they give us a ham sandwich.
They like to start at 2, they want you to bring in another buyer at 3, and then they go to 4.
Yeah.
But that can change like that, and all of a sudden we're up to 4. So it's not, and
It's okay to ask.
yeah.
Yeah, you can. Pomona, I was showing property this weekend. Pomona has a new home community, maybe, I would say no more than 30 homes. And they're slow, they can't sell those properties right now. The sales rep was so excited to see me with my clients, right? She was thinking, yes, I gotta keep
Love
it.
you.
And she
Yeah.
comes back and she says, hey, we're giving 4% commission. Pomona, no, not from storage. 4% commission.
Yeah.
So if you can get your client in, you'll get 4%. I'm like, okay.
Sweet. Take it.
So this is a great point on an opportunity for the buyer that we're talking about here. Yet it's a huge point on a listing presentation to work on the price, getting it softer and getting the commissions up. Because, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if the builders can't get it sold, then how are you going to get it sold if it's overpriced and the commissions are too low? So that's part of the.
And it's brand new, shiny penny,
Right,
you
brand
know.
new shiny penny.
With those soundproof.
flooring, carpet, kitchen's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
perfect condition, absolutely, good.
It's like, I
Good,
guess I was
Meg?
just kind of confused. I thought are these Century 21 Masters listings?
Technically, they're Century 21 master listings. It's just that they're in the MLS, and you have to register them with the builder.
Okay,
Your client with the
so you're
builder.
getting the listing side?
No, this is an entry only situation.
It's not a buyer calls you.
I don't take them
Oh.
in. I mean, believe me, when the buyer gets to me, it's because the agent at the sales office isn't answering their phone, and they've already been in.
I guess I didn't,
Usually.
I wasn't aware of that.
No, they're not getting, no, it's not a listing site.
Right.
Okay, okay, perfect.
You said it's
Excuse me. Other questions? Any other questions here? Okay, go ahead, Colin, please.
How do you guys get up with the energy? That's something that I've been struggling with. Sometimes I get up like, oh shoot, there's gonna be another grind 40 contacts. Shoot. But how do you?
So if I can paraphrase the question, John's question is, how do you get up and do 40 contacts every day or 50 contacts every day? And his, he says, and shoot me. I don't want to do that. Thank you. Great question, Con. Thanks.
Talk to Nancy, she's the dietitian.
Sure. Sometimes the lowest energy. Right now, for me, I'm in panic mode. I have like 3 weeks before it comes. So I need to get as much business as possible going before it happens. And maybe for you, you need to find something that's exciting that pushes you to drive you to do that. Last year, I got married, bought a house, got pregnant. So I had a really expensive thing. Yeah, I did almost $1 million in commissions because I had all those things going on last year. They were all very expensive things. I called Neil and I said, "Oh my God, Neil, I'm tripling my mortgage payment. Am I insane?" He goes, "No, dude, it'll be the best thing you ever did." And I did, and I made a lot more money because of it. But I called you 3 or 4 times while we were in escrow.
You were a little concerned, yes, you were.
I was panicking. What am I thinking? So having something that drives you, if you're comfortable doing what you're doing right now and you can make your payments no problem on a couple of deals every month or even every couple of months, you're not going to jump out of bed.
Yeah.
I am scared to not get out of bed and go to work, or they're going to call me and say, "Where's my money?" So I don't want that. So, yeah.
Good question, Karen.
You know what? I have two boys in college. Private college. So Neil reminds me every week,
Every week.
we need to pay for the college, not to mention he just got a. So, we live for our children, right? Why are we working anyway? We're not taking it with us, okay? But we do live for our children. I support a church. I help a lot of, we're very out there for people and community. And so it's all about that. So, and I have a lot to pay each month. So it has to happen. Have to get it.
Kind of like Melinda then.
Yeah.
It's what you call upgrade.
Okay, I'll say in front of everybody right now. In 3 months, I'll be in my new house.
Okay.
Oh.
We're gonna hold you
Good
accountable
job.
to that.
Excellent. Nancy, how about you?
Yeah, that feeling is very common, I think. I feel that often. I feel the dread of, I gotta make all these contacts, or who am I gonna call? I just called those people yesterday. So it's a common feeling.
Yeah.
So the ways that I combat it are, number one, I don't do 50 contacts a day, to be honest. I do closer to in the 20s of actual people spoken to. I try to have the goal of setting an appointment. So it's okay if I talk to 10 people, but I set an appointment. The more the merrier. And also I have to keep my mindset up so that I don't go down in the dumps, which I do because it's a hard job. And I have Neil as a coach. I have MFO as a coach. So those take care of 2 days. Then I have a mastermind group. So the more I can be uplifted, like today, I felt great. I was prospecting around all these people. So I go, I'm not alone in this. And so it's keeping the mindset up and just being excited about, hey, I might get to do a deal today. I might get a listing this week. I might get a new thing in escrow. That kind of motivates me to do the contacts.
Okay.
If I can add to that too, Nancy and I are in the same office, and she and I push each other too a lot. And the days when she's not there, I'm like, okay, where's everybody? And I think you feel the same way. She was asking me the other day, she's like, who am I going to prospect while you're out on maternity leave?
Don't be gone too long.
So that energy is huge too. Being able to come into the office and being here with all of you guys, just the energy here. If we'd just been back in Long Beach today, we'd been like a little more sloggy, a little less energy, but we got a lot more done, I think, because we're here.
Yeah, for sure. Betty, go ahead.
I have a question for you, Karen. You said you do door knocking. What do you do, or when you're door knocking? Do you give them something, or just quickly? I don't need exact.
I like door knocking around my listings that I do have.
Okay.
I have about 8 active right now, so I'm gonna
To do like a 5, 5, 10.
Like I dropped off some flyers to some of you guys. So I take my flyer with me and I'm just knocking on each door in that neighborhood.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But I do tend to go kind of just around the house, you know, and then I get distracted easily. So then might go to my next listing. If I'm not feeling the vibe there, I just keep moving. And then of course preview a little bit and then occasionally expired.
Okay, thank you.
You see, when you're at the door, you get to see that vacant house, right? You get to see the house that people are moving out of. I got a listing recently where they had the moving van there. The tenants weren't happy, but you know, they were moving out. So I was able to contact that seller before he even got close to going on the market.
Wow,
Right?
what a great idea. Previewing houses, noticing the tenants leaving, and then calling the seller.
Yeah, we have ways of doing that.
Wow. And if you were only calling, you wouldn't have seen that.
Right.
Wow. I'm gonna write that down. 1 second, Liz.
My question is for Mel. What time do you start your calls?
So repeat the question.
What time do I start my calls every day? It depends on the day, because I have one day where I had, like today I had Mondays with Mike, and then I had Think Big, and so that I don't usually start till 8:30. Tuesdays I have a networking meeting in the morning, so that doesn't, I mean, I'm networking, but then I'm coming in, so I start calls at 10. The rest of the week, generally 8:30.
Got it. Perfect. Good.
Are you? Oh, sorry, go on.
Your marketing, like your videos, your emails, who's doing that? Are you doing it yourself? Is your assistant doing that? What platform are you guys using? How's it getting out?
Okay. Marketing, video stuff, all that stuff. Okay, so marketing wise, I do get viral videos. So I have a time scheduled every other week, and we do videos. I pick out the topic, and then they edit it, they send it out, they send me a report of who's looked at it, who's not looked at it, and then I call them. The people who open the ones that market, you know. So if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. So there's no point in paying for a service like that if you're not going to schedule it to do it. So every Thursday at 9 a.m., that's what I do, because my coaching calls at 9:30. So I get that done, and then they take care of the rest. Postcards, my assistant does that. The email things, that comes from the office, so I don't have to worry about that. And I think that's everything. Yeah.
Okay, good. Not complicated. Good. Perfect. So,
I have a
go ahead.
question. When you guys work with buyers, do you have your buyers do the buyer agreement?
No.
So as
Okay. Do I have my buyers do a buyer agreement? Not usually.
No.
Yeah, it's mostly on a trust basis. So I'll go out with anyone because I'm looking at property anyway. So it's kind of part of the process. We're looking at property and we're going to meet them, say hello, and we're going to come up with the right answer as far as getting them qualified, making sure all of that is good. But I usually will meet them one time.
I've been burned on that lately several times, so I had $15,000 to $20,000 missions. So we hadn't, especially because most of my business is past client center influence referrals, so they're usually not going anywhere. If I have any doubt, yes, I have to sign it. And the ones that I got burned on, I didn't have any doubts because they were a direct referral from another Mike Ferry agent that I've done a ton of business with, and I got burned. I lost $20,000 because somebody else did some really shady stuff, which I have some ethics questions about. But other than that, if I had done it, there would have been no question. I would have gotten their commission. So yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't use
You
it.
don't
No.
use it.
I figured the buyer broker agreement is them writing an offer with me.
Okay. So you'll spend the time and
Yeah, a certain amount of time.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, good. Perfect. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a contact is considered 100% sure that you have the land? Basically, that they are the owner of the property and they're on the phone? You're making a contact, you're 100% sure that that person you're talking to is the owner of the home.
Is that the definition of a contact? Is that what?
Yeah.
So
I consider a contact.
So thank you. The question is the definition of a contact, is it a person who owns the home?
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So.
Not necessarily,
Yeah, anyone I'm talking to is a contact.
Yeah, exactly.
because they can refer you to somebody who is.
Yes.
This morning I talked to a guy who has a really good friend who wants to sell a property. And so eventually, obviously, I want to talk to that guy, but, you know, right now I'm talking to the friend.
Yeah, but for example, if they say, I'm not interested.
But yeah, so
That's a
no.
contact.
Still no.
Still a contact.
100 no's is gonna make you rich,
100
right?
no's a day,
A
right?
day. Yeah.
100 no's a day will make you very rich.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah.
Oh, I count anybody over the age of 18 that I speak with
All right.
As a contact.
as a contact, yes. So if they don't own the house that I'm knocking on, they say, no, I'm just renting. I say, great.
For sure.
Are you, thinking about buying your own home?
Perfect. Okay.
So one question, do any of you do any of the cold calling that is not in your sphere? And how, if you do, how do you handle the DNCs?
So, Melinda, you want to handle?
Sure.
So, but repeat the question.
So the question was, do we do any cold calling outside of scientific influence, and how do we handle DNCs? I don't do as much anymore. When I was brand new, all I would do is just listed just sold or hot buyer calls or whatever, because I didn't know anybody. They would say, I'm on the do not call list. I'd say, I'm sorry, no problem. Okay, next, move on to the next one. Now I don't really do very many just listed just sold. I should, but don't.
As long as you talk to all your past
As long as I talk to them, that's all I care
Okay.
about.
No, you had, do you,
I don't
Similar.
worry about it.
You don't worry about
And I don't make that many cold calls on where I'm not knowing who I'm talking to.
Okay.
Nancy, do you have an answer?
No, similar. Yeah, I called some cold calls, but it's not a problem. If they don't want to talk to me, that's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have heard you all say that you work with buyers. What is your limit on how many times you take them out and they're just not making an offer? Do you have kind of a guideline, like this person's just trying to fill their Saturday and looking at houses? Do you have limits?
So repeat the question.
Okay, the question is, when working with buyers, how many times do you take them out before they have to write an offer? I say 3. I prefer it to be 1, but it could be 2 or 3. After that, you're not serious.
And how many properties would you show in that
Probably 3 to 4
per showing?
Yeah. And then, after 12 properties, you're not
You're in or
serious.
you're out?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna get in trouble on this one, okay? Close your ears, Neil. So I don't give up on my buyers. I don't give up on them, because they're gonna buy. I have to show them properties until they buy.
Interesting.
And it maybe I'm not hearing them correctly. Okay, what did you not like about this property that we looked at 4, which one do you like? Let's rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being great.
The longest you've taken someone out, how many?
3 months. Or a year and a half, a couple years back I did one for you. But, ridiculous. But it was a very custom kind of situation. I wasn't spending every Saturday with them, but, just kind of, you have them on your radar. What are you looking for? What are you really wanting? So then you use that as a prospecting tool, right? So everything counts. So you want a custom home on an acre with horse facilities, blah, blah. So then I can go knock and say, hey, I got a buyer that wants to buy this one.
A couple of coaching ideas for us.
Before we even show them property, we do a buyer consultation with them. So we make them come into the office and sit down, usually with me still, working on training my buyers agents to do this. But so that I sit down with them and set up the expectation that they're going to buy quickly. That they may see the very first house that they see may be the one that they write the offer on. So a lot of times they have that expectation going into it that's what they're looking to happen. If they're a true motivated buyer, we'll get them out there as much as we need to do. If they're not making offers that first or second time we go out, then we're constantly reevaluating their search criteria. Okay, so we saw these things. These check all the boxes of what you're looking for. But you're not making an offer. So what do we need to change? Do we need to lower your expectation? Do we need to bump up your price? Because sometimes they say they don't want to spend more than a certain amount, but then all of a sudden they'll increase their price by $100,000 because they're not seeing what they like. So it's evaluating, but it's rare when we show them more than, sometimes my buyer's agent gets a stubborn hair and wants to work with somebody who's she's determined she's gonna find, so it takes a lot longer, but, I had 3 buyers that we met last week and they're all knocked her out.
Wow.
Good, good. Okay, somebody had their hand.
I do.
Con.
Do you guys put them in your car or do you have them for you?
I haven't had a fire in my car in 15 years.
Okay.
Because usually I'm on my way to go someplace else. When I was showing property, I'm on my way to going someplace else after that meeting. So I don't have time to take them somewhere to drop them off.
So that leads me to a question of market. Okay? So how big is your markets that you go into? Because you can do that in a tighter market. You can't necessarily do that in a broader market. But
90% of my business is in Long Beach, Lakewood, and Signal.
those 3 cities. Got it. Karen, how about you?
Marietta, Temecula, Menifee, Elsinore is my local market. I did just sell one in Moreno Valley, so, that kind of thing. Emmett's good prices. So.
We have a lot of material.
Yeah, we do. Gosh, it's good.
Good job.
So it used to be that it was 80% around Long Beach, but this year, actually the past whole year, I think it's expanded out just because some sphere of influence people are selling in Long Beach, but they want to buy in Chino. This weekend I was in Data Point, so that's about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Long Beach.
Or further.
Or further. So it's a bit far, but they have a house to sell in Long Beach and they didn't want to use another agent for the outleg, so.
You've had some good success in Rancho Palos Verdes too.
Yeah, Rancho Palos Verdes, El Segundo, so I am going an hour out.
Got it.
In
Robert?
Nancy's defense, if you're gonna drive 45 minutes, it might as well be the Dana Point, and not like, Beaumont or Lake Arrowhead or something like
Tess,
that.
I didn't say a word. Okay, good job. Very, very good. Okay.
Question
Eric.
for Melinda. Since you have a lofty goal of 100 deals, how are you going to manage that when you're on your maternity leave?
Well, the funny thing is when I go away to my Ferry events or I go on vacation, my staff actually can do everything. I actually don't really need to be there. So, other than prospecting, that's my primary job every day is to bring the business in. They handle everything. So, I was telling Robert this, I saw an article on Amy Schumer. She just had a baby. I don't know if you guys know. She's a comedian. She did a 2-hour stand-up routine 2 weeks after giving birth. And I thought, well, if she can give a 2-hour stand-up routine 2 weeks after giving birth, there's no reason I can't go on a listening presentation. So I can sit while I'm doing that. So I'll still be doing some prospecting, but as far as the management, I definitely have to delegate out to my staff.
Got it. Javier, you have a question?
I have more of a comment. As a New York Central agent, when I first got here and signed up, they gave me this book, Centurion book. And I looked through it, and they were all 3 on this book, and I wanted to meet them to see maybe I can be in this book one day, right? So I have relationships with these 3 women here. Linda, we've done some deals together. I've shadowed her. I go to lunch and process with her. Karen, we have a more spiritual, and then Nancy, a mastermind group in the morning. We do Hunter before. Very humble people. Just the character of these women are awesome, and they'll help you. They did help me, and now I'm in this book too. So, thanks, guys.
Okay, good job, good job. All right, let's give them a big hand. Thank you. They're looking for referral business. We asked, so please, that's how they get paid. And we appreciate you guys coming out, et cetera, and your time and your help. You guys are all terrific in the role plays, the accountabilities, the help, the answering the questions. So let's give them a big hand. Thank you very much. Good job, you guys. Thank you, thank you. And then